The adaptive threat. The sleek silver ship of Admiral Kextar glided silently through the void, its reflective hull absorbing, rather than reflecting the distant starlight. Inside the command chamber, the Admiral's scaled skin rippled with anticipation as he gazed at the holographic display of the blue-green planet before him. "The deployment vessels are ready, Admiral," reported Science Director Zell, her tendrils twitching with scientific excitement. "The Nexus pathogen has been calibrated based on all available data about the humans. Their genetic structure is remarkably adaptable, but even adaptation has its limits." The Varys Collective had spent centuries perfecting the Nexus pathogen. Originally discovered in the ruins of a civilization so ancient that even the Varys had no record of them, the pathogen had proven to be the perfect tool for clearing planets for colonization. It didn't destroy infrastructure or resources. It simply broke the dominant species by targeting what made them special. "Proceed with deployment," Kextar ordered, his voice a harmonic blend of tones that the ship's systems translated into precise commands. "Ensure the observation satellites are correctly positioned. I want comprehensive data on the progression of symptoms across their population centers." On Earth, Dr. Elena Rice peered through her microscope at the Global Pandemic Response Center in Geneva. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her eyes reflected the intensity of someone who had dedicated her life to understanding threats most people couldn't even comprehend. "This doesn't make any sense," she muttered, adjusting the calibration. "The cellular structure is changing, but not degenerating." She looked up at her colleague, Dr. Marcus Chen. "It's almost like it's trying to communicate with the cell, not destroy it." "That contradicts everything we know about viral behavior," Marcus replied, frowning at the data scrolling across his tablet. "Unless it's engineered. But even our most advanced biotech can't do anything this sophisticated." Their conversation was interrupted by the center's director bursting into the lab, her face ashen. "We've got simultaneous outbreaks in 27 major cities worldwide. Whatever this is, it's spreading faster than anything we've ever seen." Within days, the pathogen had reached every corner of the Earth. The symptoms began subtly: slight discoloration of the skin, mild fever, temporary disorientation. But unlike other pandemics, no one was dying. Instead, people reported strange sensations, heightened awareness, unusual dreams, and a peculiar feeling of cellular change. In their orbital ship, the Varys watched with growing confusion. "This doesn't match any of our previous deployments," Zell reported, her tendrils twisting with agitation. "By now, we should be seeing systemic collapse of their defining characteristics. Their cognitive functions should be diminishing, their social structures falling apart." Kextar hovered over the data displays, his usually immaculate scales dulling with concern. "What makes these humans special? What is their defining trait that the pathogen should be targeting?" "Based on our analysis, their adaptability," Zell replied. "Humans have thrived in virtually every environment on their planet through adaptation. They change their surroundings, create tools, develop new strategies. It's their primary evolutionary advantage." "And how would the pathogen target adaptability?" Kextar asked, the implications dawning on him with cold dread. Zell's voice wavered. "By attempting to remove their ability to adapt. But that process itself would require the human cells to adapt to the pathogen's presence, creating a paradox." Back on Earth, Dr. Rice had barely slept in weeks. Her lab had become her home, her obsession with understanding the pathogen consuming every waking moment. But finally, a pattern was emerging. "Look at this," she said, gesturing to a time-lapse recording of infected cells. "The pathogen is trying to alter our cellular structure, but instead of breaking down, our cells are incorporating the pathogen's genetic material." Marcus leaned closer, his exhaustion momentarily forgotten. "It's like our adaptability is being enhanced rather than diminished." "Exactly," Elena said, her voice quiet with the weight of her realization. "Whatever this thing is, it's not killing us. It's changing us." As more data poured in from around the world, a startling picture emerged. The pathogen was indeed altering human biology, but instead of weakening humans, it appeared to be integrating with human DNA, enhancing rather than destroying the very trait it seemed designed to target. In space, the Varus Collective was facing an unprecedented situation. Their foolproof weapon, tested on 37 species across the galaxy, had never failed before. "We need to understand what's happening," Kextar demanded, his harmonic voice cracking with stress. "Send a reconnaissance team to the surface. Full containment protocols. I want samples, observations, everything." The Varus team descended under cover of night, their adaptive camouflage rendering them nearly invisible as they collected samples from infected humans. They moved through a major hospital in what humans called North America, their slender forms weaving between medical staff too overwhelmed to notice the occasional shimmer in the air. What they found shocked them to their core. The humans weren't collapsing. They were thriving. Their cells were absorbing the pathogen, using its own mechanism to enhance rather than diminish their adaptive capabilities. "This is impossible," whispered the lead scientist as they returned to their ship. "The pathogen should be targeting their adaptability, making them rigid, unable to respond to change." "Instead," said another, "it's as if their adaptability is adapting to our attack on their adaptability." Admiral Kextar received the report with growing horror. "We've never seen anything like this. The pathogen has always worked. Always." Science Director Zell reviewed the data, her tendrils now completely still, a sign of extreme stress in their species. "It appears we fundamentally misunderstood humans, Admiral. Their defining characteristic isn't just adaptability, it's recursive adaptability. They adapt to threats against their ability to adapt." "What are you saying?" Kextar demanded. "I'm saying," Zell replied slowly, "that we may have just significantly enhanced the very trait that made humans dangerous to begin with. And worse, we've given them access to technology embedded in the pathogen itself. Technology from a civilization far more advanced than even our own." Down on Earth, Dr. Elena Reyes watched as her own cells, infected with the pathogen, began to display capabilities that defied conventional biology. They were communicating faster, repairing damage more efficiently, and showing signs of enhanced function. "This isn't a pandemic," she told the Emergency Council of World Leaders. "It's an evolution. Whatever this pathogen is, wherever it came from, it's not destroying us, it's advancing us. And I think whoever sent it is going to deeply regret their decision." As she spoke, millions of humans worldwide were beginning to experience the first signs of what this evolution would mean. Enhanced senses, accelerated healing, and glimpses of abilities that had previously existed only in human imagination. The Nexus pathogen, designed to break civilizations by attacking what made them special, had encountered a species whose special trait created an evolutionary feedback loop. And in the darkness of space, Admiral Kextar realized with dawning horror that the Varus Collective's perfect weapon had just created something far more dangerous than anything they had encountered before. Humans who could adapt even faster than nature had ever intended. Evolution's response. 6 months after the Nexus pathogen swept across Earth, humanity had changed in ways that even the most visionary scientists couldn't have predicted. What began as subtle cellular alterations had cascaded into systemic changes throughout the human population. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the window of the newly established Evolutionary Response Center, watching as a group of children played in the courtyard below. One girl, no older than 10, was manipulating small objects with remarkable precision without touching them, a manifestation of the neural kinetic abilities that had emerged in roughly 15% of the population. "The latest numbers are in," Marcus said, joining her at the window. His own transformation had given him an eidetic memory and computational abilities that rivaled supercomputers. "We're seeing stabilization across all phenotype categories. The pathogen has fully integrated with human DNA worldwide." Elena nodded, absently touching the iridescent patch of skin on her forearm, her own visible sign of change. Her transformation had enhanced her already formidable intellect, allowing her to perceive patterns in biological systems that had previously been invisible to human understanding. "Have we made contact with the originators yet?" she asked. "Nothing direct," Marcus replied. "But the reverse-engineered communications array based on the pathogen's embedded technology is picking up significant activity in near-Earth space. They're watching us." In his command vessel, Admiral Kextar was doing exactly that, watching with growing horror as the sensor data revealed the extent of humanity's transformation. "This is catastrophic," he hissed, his scales now a dull gray from chronic stress. "We haven't just failed to clear the planet. We've created a far more dangerous species than the one we targeted." Science Director Zell had been demoted for her role in the disaster, but had been kept on the mission due to her expertise. The pathogen's embedded technology was never meant to be accessed by the host species, she explained. But the humans' adaptive capability allowed them to decode and utilize aspects of the ancient civilization's knowledge base contained within the pathogen itself. "You're telling me we've given primitives access to technology beyond even our understanding?" Kextar's voice had lost its harmonic quality, becoming a harsh, single-toned rasp. "Worse," Zell continued. "Their physiological changes suggest they're developing abilities that the ancients themselves may have possessed. The pathogen doesn't just contain technology. It contains evolutionary blueprints." On Earth, the first contact team assembled in the former United Nations headquarters in New York. They had detected the Varus ships entering Earth orbit, no longer attempting to hide their presence. "They're coming to assess the damage," Elena told the assembled leaders, "and possibly to attempt a more conventional attack now that their bioweapon has backfired." She stood at the center of the chamber, flanked by representatives of humanity's new capabilities, individuals with enhanced strength, telepathic abilities, accelerated healing, and dozens of other manifestations that had emerged from the pathogen's integration with human DNA. "We should strike first," argued General Wei, his enhanced strategic mind already calculating possible scenarios. "We have the orbital defense network based on the pathogen's technology." "No," Elena countered firmly. "We demonstrate what we've become, but we don't initiate hostilities. Remember, our strength was never just adaptation. It was adaptability combined with cooperation. That's why we survived when other species might have fractured." When the Varus delegation finally landed in a carefully choreographed display of advanced technology meant to intimidate, they found themselves confronted not by frightened primitives, but by evolved humans who regarded them with calm confidence. Admiral Kextar, encased in protective armor designed to prevent any possible contamination, faced Dr. Elena Reyes across a specially constructed meeting chamber. "You did this to us," Elena said without preamble. "The Nexus pathogen. We've decoded enough of its structure to understand its purpose." Kextar's translator rendered his harmonic speech into human language, a regrettable error in targeting parameters. "The pathogen was never meant to enhance." "It didn't enhance us," Elena corrected. "It tried to destroy what makes us human, our adaptability. But in doing so, it created an evolutionary paradox that our biology resolved by incorporating the pathogen itself." She stepped closer, and Kextar involuntarily shifted backward despite his protective gear. "We've accessed the knowledge embedded in the pathogen," she continued. "Not all of it. The civilization that created it was far beyond even your understanding, but enough to know that you've been using a weapon you barely comprehend. You cannot possibly." Kextar began, but Elena interrupted by projecting a holographic display using technology that the Varus recognized as far more advanced than what humans should possess. "This is a complete breakdown of your ship's propulsion system," she said calmly. "And this is a blueprint for improvements that would increase its efficiency by roughly 300%. Consider it a gesture of goodwill." The Admiral's scales shifted color rapidly, a sign of extreme distress in his species. "What do you want?" "Recognition and non-interference," Elena replied. "Humanity is entering a new phase of existence, We're not interested in conquest or domination. Concepts we understand animated your attack on us. We're interested in growth, discovery, and eventually, cooperation with species mature enough to share the galaxy peacefully. In the weeks that followed, the Varus Collective reluctantly entered into a formal treaty with Earth. They had little choice. Humanity had not only survived their most potent weapon, but had turned it into a catalyst for unprecedented evolution. As the Varus ships departed from Earth orbit, Alina stood with Marcus at the observation deck of the newly constructed orbital platform, humanity's first true step into space, using their newly acquired knowledge. "They'll be back," Marcus said, watching the ships disappear. "And they won't be alone. The galaxy is full of species who will see us as a threat now." Alina nodded. "That's why we need to continue evolving. Not just our technology or our abilities, but our understanding and our compassion. The pathogen gave us power, but how we use it is still purely human." Below them, Earth gleamed blue and green against the darkness of space. Across its surface, humanity continued its remarkable transformation. Children born after the pathogen's release were demonstrating abilities from birth that their parents had developed through exposure. New social structures were emerging to accommodate the diversity of new human capabilities. "The Varus thought they were destroying what makes us special," Alina said softly. "But they never understood what truly makes humans unique. It's not just our adaptability. It's our creativity in the face of challenges, our ability to cooperate despite our differences, and our persistent hope even in darkness." She turned from the window, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "They tried to break humanity by attacking what makes us human. Instead, they made us more human than we've ever been before." In the deepest reaches of space, the ancient intelligence that had originally created the Nexus pathogen stirred from its long dormancy. Its sensors, scattered across the galaxy, had detected the unexpected outcome on the small blue planet. After millions of years, it had finally found what it had been searching for: a species worthy of inheritance. Silently, invisibly, it began to awaken fully, turning its vast awareness toward Earth and the remarkable species that had not merely survived its test, but had embraced it and evolved. Humanity's true first contact was yet to come.